Hello and welcome back. This is David from the Personal Finance Squad. Okay, now we're going to get into section 12.1, Employee Stock Ownership Plans, otherwise known as ESOPs. Now in the last section we talked about profit sharing, which is nowhere near as common as it used to be, and there's also the 401k, which is the most common. Now ESOPs are definitely still around and they're not as popular, but you may find them depending on where you work, and it should not be an uncommon thing to hear about. So what an ESOP is where the employer makes contributions in the form of their company stock for their employees. And they do this because it helps take pride, it helps the company, the people that work there, feel like they have an ownership stake in the company. Because even if you're an outside person in the world owning a share of just one stock of a company, technically that means you're part of that company, you own part of that company. So when you work there, it's really more of a true motivation to think, I'm owning shares in this company, I work for it. The thought being from a mental aspect is you want to do well, you want the company to do well, because the better you do, the better they do, the more money that stock's going to have as a value. It's a good idea to think of ESOPs as like a trust fund for employees. It's kind of like a separate investment bank account. And the company can contribute money to that in either the form of stock or cash to buy the company's stock. And they may also purchase shares in the plan or contribute shares directly to the plan. And that means then the plan can borrow money to buy more shares. And the cool thing is that contributions to the plan are tax deductible, and everybody likes that. As the employee, you will not be taxed any contributions until you receive the stock, and that means it will only happen is if you retire or terminate your employment. And when that happens, you have the opportunity to sell your shares in the open market or back to the company. So again, it works differently. It's kind of like a profit sharing. They're giving you money in some cases on their behalf to buy stock. And again, that's an option that they have. They do not have to do it. And that's what differs from a 401k plan. So a 401k plan says they have established amount of money. So they may say, hey, you're going to get up to $3,000 a year. That's our max. Right? They've established that plan when you start it. But when you have a profit sharing or ESOP like a profit sharing, it's on their discretion. Let's take a quick little peek at a chart that we put in here for you to make it a little more understandable if you're not used to this. And so we made this very generally speaking in terms of verbiage, but this is just fine. This is all you need to know. And then you can see right here in the first bubble that the employer contributes money to the ESOP for its employees. And then over here, the ESOP, the plan, if you will, buys shares with money contributed by the company. Pretty right? So if they put $100,000 here, it's going to go in this like this kind of holding tank, this queue, and they're going to buy shares on the open market. So they go over here and they say, you know what, I'm going to buy all the shares I can for this $100,000 here. Now, if they sell shares, that money goes right back in kind of this queue, this holding tank again. So you can see right here, this is kind of like this little spot that just holds onto that cash for the period. And then when the stock is actually purchased, it's actually in a real account where all the shares are held. As far as you as the employee, what you know is how much do I have, how many shares do I own, and what is the value. Another thing to keep an eye on here is the company stock pitfall. And what that means is that's where you have all your eggs in one basket. We'll talk about this in a second. What we're saying here is you're going to have two options. The employer is either going to match their 401k in the form of stock, or you can purchase stock either in your 401k plan, or there may be some other vehicle to get the employee stock. Now, if they match employee stock, there's nothing you can do about it, and that's okay, but this could lead to the eggs in one basket notion, which that means you're putting all of your investments in one or a few vehicles. So for example, let's say you had $1 million and you only put $500,000 in each of two different stocks. That's getting very risky because if they go down, that means you could really lose a lot of your money. And this was seen way back as far as 2001 with WorldCom. You may recall WorldCom, probably Enron's more notable. These are two examples of companies that went defunct. And that means all these employees had so much of their money into the company stock plans to their 401ks that means they basically went bankrupt. So many people got hurt from that. In 2008, in the financial crisis, there were many people who have gotten burnt and never make their money back, where they know that they're just buying. And those are the people who just bought themselves, not where the company matched it necessarily. They just continued to buy, and they had so much money in the one stock, the same thing happened. Now, those companies didn't go defunct. For example, Ford Motor used to hang around $18 a share, and one time it went down to $2. So that was so much money, and then a lot of those people either went defunct on their own bankruptcies, or they had to retire. They had years of accumulation, and when they had to retire and couldn't keep working, their retirements were decimated. So this is the reason why you want to diversify. And we've talked about it not just with ESOPs, just with your money in general. 401ks, if you own stocks, anything when you're investing your money, you need to be diversified. So there's not necessarily a rule when it comes to how much money you should put into an ESOP, but if you read enough, or we'll tell you in the squad, that generally the thought process is that you should put no more than 10 to 15% of your investments through a company stock plan. This is a way of saying that you're hedging your money. So you know if you have 10 to 15% in the company plan, then you need to spread another up to 85% in other vehicles. So understand this notion, make sure that you diversify. Okay, so that's going to end it for this section, and we appreciate you joining, and we will see you in the next video.